Hey everyone, I'm Dare, and in this video, I'm gonna show you how to use animated backgrounds in Premiere Pro. I'm Dare, and I'm a full-time content creator, filmmaker, editor, writer, producer, post supervisor, etc., etc. You know, like you, only more stressed out constantly. Now, I hope you're having a great week or a great weekend, and that this isn't a panic search because you've got a client breathing down your neck, whatever the case may be. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to use animated backgrounds to quickly spice up client content with animated text on top of it. So instead of maybe just having an interview video, which just looks like this, I have arbitrarily set these 5 levels. Success level 1, get paid doing what you love. Man, what a joy it is the first time a client pays you for your work. Sure, you can give your client some extra value and make it more punchy or more interesting by adding graphics like this. Arbitrarily set these 5 levels. Success level 1, get paid doing what you love. Man, what a joy it is the first time a client pays you for your work. You can download the files that you need to follow along with this tutorial for free in the link below, and you're also going to get a cool set of animated elements that you can use in any of your projects that I've included from my branding bundle, which has hundreds of these, all of which come in matching horizontal, vertical, square, that's not a square, and with a lower third where the animation is matched one to the other and not just cropped, which I think looks cheap. Bluntly, after spending way too much time browsing stock sites which have one good background for every 200 low quality ones, I just spent the time and care to make all of my own that I use in my own custom client work. And animated backgrounds can help you give a cool look for text and also break up long talking head type interviews with graphics. Now, it's important as a content creator that you know how to do this, because it can not only make your work look better, but it also can help you make more money faster. And I'll cover the technical part first inside Premiere, and then I'm gonna go into the business part at the end for those of you who are interested. Obviously, first thing, you wanna go ahead, open up your project, navigate to wherever it is in your folder, and just hit open, and it's gonna pop up here. All right, so let's get into it. I've already built out some sample timelines for you. One, which will show you the after, which you can simply just compare your project to as you're building into this, and the practice project, which is kind of the before. Then up here in the animations folder, you can find your different backgrounds, and there'll be a bunch in here, and I'll explain these to you in a bit. So if you double click on this, you'll see that it is a standard sort of horizontal format. It's 4K. I've also given you a lower third. I've given you a square format for square deliveries, and I've also given you vertical format for vertical deliveries. So we're going to be using this one, and you can just go ahead and open that in your source monitor. So this is a 4K background, and the timeline that I have here is 1920 by 1080. So you're going to just go ahead and drop that on the timeline, and if you just right click on this, you can choose scale to frame size, and that'll automatically make the file the same size as your sequence. When I'm selecting a background, the first thing I kind of do is I go, do I like this background how it is? Because you don't just have to take a background like it is. Like if you, let's look at this animation, right? So you've got kind of particles here, you've got a flare here, and you know what? Maybe for some reason you want to go ahead and have that completely the other way. You can just go here into the panel and switch that around, and maybe that's more the effect you're going for. So there are a lot of things that you can do to get this exactly how you want it, just using this panel up here, which is the effects control panel. And for me personally, I just like how it is. So I'm gonna leave it like that. And there is one other thing I'd like to show you on this real quick, which is, again, these particles are floating upwards, which is kind of the effect that I liked. It's just kind of a little bit different. It's kind of cool. But, you could always just go ahead and go into your speed duration, and you can reverse that like that. And basically what you're going to find is now your particles are flowing down. So just because you get a stock animated background, it does not mean that you have to use it just like that and exactly as it has been given to you. There's a lot you can do to change these up and get them how you want them. So now I want to figure out where this is going to go. So again, this is a pretty typical client video. That's obviously me on the screen recording something for tutorial that I'm going to be putting out. And so let's look at this.
These 5 levels. Success level 1. Get paid doing what you love. Man, what a joy it is the first time a client pays you for your work. Sure.
Okay, so that's one way to do it. And honestly, this is a lot of the kind of content that you might be doing for clients, which is basically talking head type stuff. And by breaking it into 2 camera angles, you can make it more interesting. But a nice way to add one other thing to sort of break the rhythm or the monotony of what could be a long video is to use animated backgrounds and graphics.
Man, what a joy it is the first time.
So listening to this.
Success level 1. Get paid doing what you love.
Okay, so if you look here at your finished project, you can kind of see that I've got 2 copies of this background layer, and then I've got some text layers on top of it. So let's look at what's happening here.
Level 1. Get paid doing what you love. Man, what a joy it is.
Okay, so if you look here, I've got this sort of split coming down just to make it a little bit more interesting. Like, let's look at one way you could do that, which is, you could just go ahead and here's your animated background. And up here again, in your motion control panel, you can simply go position. And one trick I'll give you is generally when I'm animating anything or moving anything in Premiere, I always set like a keyframe. This little thing here is called a keyframe, if you don't know that. So I set the landing position, like where do I want it to be after it animates in. Okay, so here we go. And we can just put that right off the screen, and let's look at how that looks.
Success level 1. Get paid doing what you love.
Well, first off, that's way too slow. So let's go ahead and move that keyframe back.
Get paid doing what you love.
Still way too slow. So let's go ahead and put that there. And let's try again.
Paid doing what you love.
Yeah, still a little bit too slow. We're gonna take it to there and
paid doing what you love.
Okay, so for me, that's
paid doing what you love.
Okay, you can do that and realize that you can also make that come in from the left or right just by changing these parameters. But for me, it's a bit boring. I'm not McLovin' it, as it were. So let's go ahead and reset this back to where it was. Let's get rid of these keyframes. If you look over here at the finished project, you'll also see that I have them split coming in, but this motion blur here on the edge, there is a way to get that. And that is, let's go back into our practice project and let's go ahead and we're going to use an effect called transform. Okay, and that's under here, video effects, distort. We're going to drop that onto here. We're going to get rid of these keyframes here, and we're going to get rid of that. And what we're going to do instead is we're going to use our transform to create the motion that we want. So I'm going to set my first keyframe on the landing. I'm going to back that up, and I'm going to set my second keyframe at the beginning, and I'm going to move it off the screen. So now you can see that
paid doing what you...
Okay, it's coming in. It looks the same. Boring. So what we're going to do down here is go down here and unselect use composition shutter angle and go ahead and put your shutter angle at 360. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us some simulated motion blur. Let's go ahead and now let's double stack this. And we're going to go ahead and pick the crop effect. And we're going to drop that onto one, and we're going to go left 50%. And then we're going to go onto the other one, and we're going to drop the crop on there. And we're going to say right 50%, and we'll do this.
Get paid doing what...
And obviously it still looks the same because these are going the same way. And what we're going to do is on this one, instead of it going down from the top, we're going to bring it all the way from the bottom. Let's just go ahead and say 4,000. Okay, and now
get paid doing what you love.
Okay, so now we have
paid doing what you love.
Man, the background coming in.
Man, what a joy it is the first time a client pays you for your work. Sure.
And we'll go ahead and take it out here when I'm saying sure.
Kind of work. Sure. You might have to keep doing other jobs, but
okay. So that's it. That's the background that's now working and in place here. And yeah, it comes in, it's nice, it looks cool. I dig it.
Now, for those of us who have been using Premiere Pro since the beginning, there was a day when if you wanted more than just simple white letters, you needed to go into After Effects to create anything that didn't remotely suck. But now, there is a lot that you can do just using Premiere Pro's built-in text tools and animation tools. I'm gonna show you how.
All right, so we have the backgrounds now where we want it. So let's go into text now. And again, I'm gonna show you the finished project.
Level 1, get paid doing what you love. Man, what a joy it is.
Okay, so what I like to do is I like to first create my text and place it on the screen and then do all my animations. Like basically finished position first and then animation. So go down here and hit your type tool and just go ahead and click on the screen and we're gonna type success level 1. Okay, and we're just gonna go ahead and say yes and go over here to Essential Graphics and you have some align options here on the screen, which will just help make sure that it's perfectly centered on the screen. So bring it down just a little bit. Let's go ahead and set paragraph to centering. So when we move stuff around, it is centered. Okay, and all right, I want to quickly just show you a few things here so you can see them. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this text. And right now you can see kind of by default, there's a drop shadow that's been placed on the text. You can kind of see it around the edges here. And you know, if you select your text, you can always just go ahead and turn that off so you don't have it. Some people like it. I think it's that and stroke both work really well when you have text that's very similar to the background, so it kind of gets lost. But this is a high contrast setup, so you have a very bright text against a dark background, so I don't think you need stroke. And you know what, I'll just leave the drop shadow on there for the fun of it. All right, so we've got our first text. I'm gonna go ahead and I am just gonna hold down the Alt key and drag up another layer, and that's gonna give me kind of my next text right there. And I'm just gonna type out, get paid doing what you love. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and just change that to a slightly thinner font in the same font group. And I'm gonna go ahead and just make this a little bit bigger, just a little bit more punch. Okay, and so if you look in the effect controls, and this is now here under get paid doing what you love, you have a lot of other options here to stylize your text. And I can just bring that in a tiny bit. If I wanted to, I could just do the reverse on this and open this up and bring it out a tiny bit like that. And you know, whatever you want, however you want to make it look.
That's level 1.
But now we have
get paid doing what you love. Level 1.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the timing on this right. So let's get this here. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start animating this in now. And if you look at the finished project, what's happening here?
Get paid.
It's just flying in and landing. So what we're gonna do, we're going to, that's gonna be right there. It's gonna, as soon as this finishes, this is where we're gonna start this. So again, as I told you, one thing I like to do a lot when I'm animating is make sure that the first keyframe I set, which up here, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit the position and the scale keyframe. And this just sort of helps make sure that no matter what I do to animate something in, when it lands, it's gonna be there. So, because now when you start kind of moving stuff around, you'll see. As you play around with it, you'll see things can get lost and it can get really annoying. As a point, if you hold down your, like if you select your anchor point, it will show you where it is in the screen. And this just sort of tells the computer sort of where to base the motion from. And when I'm doing text, I just like to make sure that it's centered on the horizontal line. All right, so that's set. Let's go ahead and now let's animate this off the screen. So we're just gonna scale this up, and you know, we don't need to go super ridiculous. We can just go ahead and put a dissolve right there so it kind of feels like it's, okay, so that's just a tiny bit fast. Feels a little fast to me. So I'm gonna move that forward, and we're gonna select this, and we're gonna slide these two keyframes just forward. Let's see how that feels. Okay, that's a tiny bit slow, so let's kind of like split the difference. And okay, that feels pretty good for that first text. So one thing I also like to do is when you have a keyframe like this, it's just saying point A is here, point B is here, and whatever the numbers here are, this is a straight line to get to there. So, but it almost always looks better to sort of just, instead of it hitting hard and stopping, to do what's called an ease. So if you go under here, under temporal interpolation, and go down here to ease in, what's gonna happen instead is it's just gonna, it's almost impossible to see, but it just slows down slightly before it hits that. So it's not such a harsh landing. And the other thing I like to do is I am not a big fan of just text staying static on the screen. It just feels to me a bit like a PowerPoint at that stage. So I just like to add a little bit of growth over the whole thing, so it just has some slight movement to it. So let's go ahead, and I'm gonna get that out of our way. Okay, so go ahead, and from this point here, it's at 100. That's our scale. Go all the way to the end of the piece, just hit that again, and just say 105. It will be nice and slow, but you will see it. It's just gradually starting to grow on the screen now. So I much prefer that over a static text just sitting on the screen. It just, you know, it's video. Things should be moving. All right, so let's go ahead and let's tackle the next one now. So success level 1. I'm gonna turn back on the sound.
Get paid doing what you get paid.
All right, so I start saying get paid right there. So I'm gonna slide this text over here. And what I want you to do is just go ahead, select this tool, and we're gonna go back into the Effect Controls panel. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna close this, and we're gonna go down to the opacity box here. And this is where actually how you can create a mask right inside Premiere Pro. So you're gonna click on that, and you have this, now it's cut off, right? Because it's masking out everything outside that. So we're gonna go ahead and just set this here to make sure our mask is, you can hold down Shift to make sure you have both selected. And you just wanna make sure that this is outside of your full text. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna feather this a little bit. Well, first let me show you without feather so you can kind of see why I do this. So get paid doing what you love, great. So that's about right where the voice ends. So right here, mask path, again, we're gonna keyframe this. So I keyframe, that's how I want it to be in the end. I go back to the beginning, I add another keyframe. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna select the mask so I can see it here. And I'm gonna go ahead and select these and bring it all the way back. And it's going to just disappear. And now when we play it forward, it's gonna animate on. And it doesn't look bad with this text to just sort of see it like that, just kind of going on. But I almost always love to just have just a slight feather is actually what it's called. So you're gonna go here, mask feather, and you can just, that's gonna show you kind of how much it's gonna be blurred in as it's coming in. And again, you can kind of see it right here, how it's blurring those letters and those lines. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna play that back so you can kind of see it now. Slams in, then that one animates on. Okay, and we just need to check this against the voice now, so we're gonna unmute it.
One.
Here we go.
Get paid doing what you love. Man, what a joy it is the first time.
Okay, again, this is moving, this is not. The first frame of this, we're gonna do position and scale. And then we're gonna go all the way to the end, position and scale. And you don't have to choose position. It's just something I like to do because, sometimes text moves in places you don't want it to. So by kind of locking the positions in, it just helps make sure that it's going to wind up where I want it. And now I'm going to scale that. So let's watch it now.
Success level 1. Get paid doing what you love.
And now you see both texts are going kind of scaling. And I'm just going to go ahead, and you can, as with all of these things, you can leave it as a hard cut out, which is a little bit, it's a little bit more punchy, but you can also always just dissolve out.
It's the first time a client pays you.
And I just prefer the hard cut myself. So we're going to delete that.
Time a client pays you for your work. Sure.
Okay, so you now have an animated background coming on.
Get paid doing what you love. Man, what a joy it is.
Text coming on, and you know what? We can probably shorten this whole thing down. Just bring it down to there.
Success level 1. Get paid doing what you love. Man, what a joy it is the first time a client.
Okay, so what else can we do to add punch to this? Well, a big part of graphics is also sound design. Where things land, you can add little, sound effects to just sort of make it more interesting, make it more interesting, make it more professional. So I'm gonna just pop in a couple sounds here. Effects box. Go ahead and open that, and let's do swoosh. Okay, so a swoosh is a swoosh. That's what it is. So we're gonna drop that in here to kind of add some sound to these things, to the background coming in.
Success level 1.
Okay. One really big mistake a lot of people make is making sound effects too loud.
Success level 1.
Don't do that. They should just be barely present in this type of stuff, unless you're doing something that's stylized where it requires that.
Success level 1.
There you go. Maybe just a tiny bit more. Let's just bring it up just a tiny bit more. And you can drag this bar up or down to increase it. Or if you prefer, you can always just hit the G keyboard and you can adjust the volume up or down using minus or plus. Let's listen to it.
Success level 1.
Okay, I'm gonna bring it down just a tiny bit more.
Success level 1.
There you go. All right, so now we have this text which comes in and it lands. So an impact there is gonna, I don't know, it's gonna add something for sure. So let's go ahead and
1. Get paid.
Okay, so I think we can all agree that's way too loud. So let's go ahead and open this up. And let's bring it down. Try again. Okay, and we want that to hit right when it lands. So there, let's move this forward.
Success level 1. Get paid.
Okay, and this sound effect is kind of dragging out. You don't need any of that. Okay, so go ahead and just shorten it down. Shift Control D can give you like a nice sort of, fade out on that really quickly.
Get paid doing what you love.
Okay, and then this text is animating in. So you don't have to use these sound effects, but it does something.
Get paid doing what you love.
Okay, again, it's too loud and it goes too long. So we're gonna go ahead and shorten that up and fade it out. And then we're gonna go ahead and bring this down.
Get paid doing what you love.
Still too present and still too long. So let's bring that in.
Get paid doing what you love. Man.
There you go. All right, so now let's go ahead and look at this back with sound effects and without. So I'm just gonna bring it down. Let's turn off these two layers.
Success level 1. Get paid doing what you love. Man.
Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and listen to it with sound effects.
5 levels. Success level 1. Get paid doing what you love. Man.
Okay, well, opinions may vary, but I really prefer the sound effects on it. And I think most clients will as well. Just based off of my experience, they definitely appreciate a little bit of extra love. Let's get that centered. Great. All right, so I also included a lower third in this. And I'm just gonna show you, again, you can look at the finished project and you can see that here at the beginning, I just put.
So in mentoring creatives, I have found it helpful to give them 5 levels of success to strive.
Okay, so let's just look at using a lower third. And again, this you can put someone's name, whatever you want. Here in your program monitor, there's this little box here. And what this shows you is what's called action safe and title safe. And honestly, for mobile devices and whatnot, this isn't really as relevant anymore because it's not like a TV where sometimes TVs will crop off the edges. So this inner box used to be like, make sure that you have your text inside that box so it never gets cropped off. All right, so go into your animations folder, go ahead and grab the one that says lower third. You can see it here. So we're gonna just drop that. We don't need all that. Let's go ahead and let's just take 5 seconds of that. And let's go ahead and drop that down. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and go into effect controls. We're gonna scale this down. And we're gonna go ahead and just put this right around here. Let's make it a tiny bit bigger. And you know, this goes back and forth as you're tweaking stuff. So don't be afraid of making changes. All right, so I am not a huge fan of really crisp cutouts on my lower thirds. Yes, in some places you have to use it, and a lot of people do use it like that, but I prefer to have it a little bit softer, a little bit less kind of like, hey, there's a animated box down here. So go ahead and select this, go into your effect controls, and again, you're gonna go here to opacity, and you're gonna choose your mask again. And so, you know, you can have this and you can kind of monkey around to sort of see where the edges are. What I like to do instead is I just go ahead and hit inverted. And then that way I can just quickly sort of position these. Let's get a tiny bit back from the edge. Right, like that. Okay. Over here. Over here. And all right, so we're just a little bit back from the edge there. And go ahead and unclick inverted. And then go to your mask feather and just open it up a tiny bit. If you go off it, now you can kind of see that edge is much softer. And you know, personal preference, I prefer that in a lot of cases. Again, so it doesn't just look like a floating animated box. It just sort of, I don't know, it helps the transition. And you can always pull it in a little bit if you want, or you can expand it to get rid of it if you want, but yeah, somewhere right around there. Okay, so go ahead and select your type tool, click down here, and say 5 levels of success as a content creator. Okay, let's go ahead and bring the size of this down. Just gonna go ahead, and here's where you would want to have it left aligned, or left justified on your text. I'm gonna make this bold, and I'm gonna bring that size down. Let's go ahead and let's make it about that big. Bring it down a little bit here. And I'm actually gonna go back to the lower third, and I'm just gonna scale this up a tiny bit. It's just a tiny bit too small. Move that over. Okay, and let's have a look.
So in mentoring creatives, I have found it helpful to give them.
Okay, and we'll go ahead and adjust these down. We don't need this on the screen for too much. Okay, and again, there are multiple ways to bring these in. Let's get this over here for a second. For example, you can simply do
so in mentoring
fade up
creative,
like that, or if you wanted to, again, you could go, well, this is where I want it here. You can go to your position and scale. You set your end point, or you know, your landing point. You can go backwards, and you know, that's kind of a really common one to have it come off from the side. But for this, I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm just gonna go ahead and put a dissolve on there.
So in mentoring creatives, I have found it helpful to give.
Okay, now we're gonna slide that text back over. We're gonna start the text right as this dissolve is finishing. Okay.
So in mentoring creatives, I have found it.
So this lower third is too long over here, so I need to do kind of like one of two things. I can either come in here and I can just increase that a little bit to just kind of give it a little bit more balance on it.
So in mentoring creatives.
All right, fine. Looks good. Let's take it. And what we will do here is, again, let's animate on this text using the exact same technique that you just saw. You go down here to your opacity panel on your text layer. You click on that. It's going to give you that right there. And let's go ahead and let's just get this a little bit lower. And we're going to open this up all the way to the end. and give ourselves just a little bit of breathing room. And again, I am going to feather this. You don't have to, you can do whatever you want.
So
and then I know that I want, right about there, I want the text done. So I will go ahead and mask path, set a keyframe. Again, this is the end of my animation. We'll go back to the beginning and I will set another keyframe and I'm going to select the mask. I'm gonna grab those two corners, just bring it right over to the end.
So in mentoring creatives, I have found it helpful to give them 5 levels of success.
And here I think I will have these dissolve off. And I'm just going to do Control D, make the dissolves a little bit faster.
I found it helpful to give them 5 levels of success to strive. So in mentoring creatives, I have found it helpful to give them 5 levels of.
There you go. So you now have animated in a lower third with some text, and you have animated in.
Get paid doing what you love.
An animated background. Now I am going to show you something which Adobe is doing, and it can make all of this a lot easier, and also they're selling product. So if you go up here to the Essential Graphics panel and you choose Browse, you will get basically templates that they have all pre-built already. So let's say that you want it, let's go ahead and we're gonna hold down Alt and we're gonna create a sample of this background. And you've got this here. Let's scroll down here. So look, you have these pre-built animated backgrounds. So you can kind of just drop that there and you can go getting paid. Okay, let's get this font. Let's get the right font on here. Make this new, make it bold, and level 1. Great. And make this new, and we'll make this book. And let's open it up a little bit. And let's go back here and open this up a little bit. Just a little crowded in there. Yeah, let's make it big. And you basically right away have a pretty complex animation that's already built. And it's responsive, meaning you can shorten down your clip and it's going to animate in everything faster and then animate it out. So this is really convenient if you can find stuff that you like. And you can browse through here and you can also hunt on Adobe stock, and they have a bunch of pre-built stuff, which makes it easy. But again, a lot of times you just want to be able to do your own text, and it's usually really simple. So now you know how to do both.
And that kind of brings us to the business part of the discussion. This is part 4, no? Now look, maybe you're an experienced content creator, in which case I don't need to tell you any of this. But for those of you who are just kind of diving into this career, your time is money. And I have found it way easier to find clients who will pay me $10,000 for maybe 40 or 50 short videos for social, which is more or less 2 months of content for them, than to find clients who will pay me $10,000 for just one video. Now I do get both, but the importance is bandwidth and speed. And I design the shorter Instagram or Facebook ads, which I might only get $250 or $500 each, in such a way that I can make them look good, but I can bang them out fast. And I can bang them out fast. And I can usually knock out 40 to 50 social videos in maybe 3 to 5 days tops. Yes, on a big budget project, I will of course go into After Effects and 3D programs and create custom animated backgrounds and effects for that client that matches their branding. But for low budget work, animated backgrounds are one of those tools in your toolbox that you can use to have a great look super quick, so you can still make a profit and give your client something that they are very happy with. Ignore this piece of advice at your peril. Do not give your clients a $5,000 video if they are only paying you $500. This is not me being cheap, because essentially you are paying your client $4,500 to work for them instead of spending that time on passion projects or finding more clients. But even worse, they're not going to appreciate it. They will simply think, oh, that's what a $500 video looks like. And then when you don't have the time and you give them an actual $500 videos, they're gonna be unhappy and simply be saying, it doesn't look as good as the last one. It's a losing battle, friends. Don't do it. You and the client will both be disgruntled, and it's gonna be the beginning of the end of that relationship. It's better just to have a great reel that shows clients what a $5,000 or a $10,000 video looks like, and then they have that as an option. And then give them a good product. Give them what they paid for, maybe a little bit better. And whenever I ignore this, I make sure that I tell the client first that I have some spare time on my hands, and I'm gonna give them a $5,000 video for $500 because I want them to sell more or whatever it is they wanna do so that they actually appreciate it and so that they hire me for more work. All right, that's the end of the video. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and ring that bell to get notices for more content from this channel. And really, it would be great if you could just take a moment in the comments below and let me know if and how you use animated backgrounds in your own workflow and what type of future content you'd like to see, whether it's related to software, shooting, writing, whatever it is. Also, I've got some other videos up on the channel, so you can take a look through those to find other helpful tips, tricks, and techniques on filmmaking and content creation. And I will see you next time.